Are we ready to get started here again? I think our 5 minutes is up. Pastor. Okay. I wanted to elaborate a little more on this tough love thing. There's a scripture that I think really fits in the concept of tough love, and it says, be as gentle as doves, but as shrewd as serpents. Did I flip that?
You got it.
Okay. That is, the word tough love, it almost sounds contradictory, but it really isn't. You can be tough and still loving. You can still tell people the truth. This is the way it is. This is the way it's going to be. This is my house. This is what I'm going to do for you. This is what I'm not going to do for you. But I'm doing this out of love. And so that's what the basic concept of tough love was. Now, there's even an organization, you may have heard of the organization called Tough Love, and it really is kind of like an Al-Anon type of thing. It's to help parents and of people, people who have kids and everything. My experience, and it may not be universal, but my experience is that they're like 90% tough and 10% love. And not to put them down, but that's just experience I had. I remember it was a school I went to, and we were doing presentations at the school, and this teacher said, yeah, I have a son, and he will never be allowed in my house again. And I said, well, where is he at? Well, he's in rehab, but he'll never be allowed in my... I thought, well, what about when he gets out of rehab? Nope. He's not coming ever back to my house. I thought, well, that sounds like all tough and no love to me. And I've heard those kind of things. I guarantee at Life Changers, we're 90% love and 10% tough. I believe in getting tough, but, you come into our center and, we're praying for guys, we're hugging them, they make a mistake, they break a rule, hey, don't do that, hey, that's not allowed. We're not jumping all over them, we're not being pharisaical. They'll say that, they leave the program, oh, yeah, they're just a bunch of rules and they don't care about any. That's not true. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing for 40 years and putting up with what I do if I don't love them. And the day I stop loving them is the day, I need to go find another job. In fact, there was a Teen Challenge director, who's a good friend of mine in St. Louis, and he said, this is more along the area of manipulation, but he said, the day that you get so shrewd and you get so or you're seeing right through them and their con games and all that stuff, and you never ever get conned again, is the day you need to leave the ministry. In other words, we get on occasion conned by a student. We get gotten over by a student, and that's okay. That's kind of good for me. No, it's not good for them. But it's like, I would rather make a mistake and show them a little extra love or a second chance or a third chance or whatever, and them take advantage of me than not. Or this is another way I put it, is when I die and I go to heaven, God is not going to say, how come you gave that guy that $10? He just went out and used crack. But if I get to heaven and he says, why didn't you give that guy $10? He was starving. And I sent him to you to help him. And that's a real simplistic thing, because I really don't like giving people $10. I usually would buy them a meal or something. But you understand what I'm saying is, we really are 90% love. We believe that Jesus showed love and everything, but he also confronted. He also let people know this is the way it is. You need to repent. You need to get right. He called people liars. He called them thieves. He called them all those things. And I think we need to be a little more gentle about that. But in a sense, that's what we do. When we get up and preach and everything, we preach against lying and stealing and manipulation and everything. Well, who's our audience? All our students. And so we are confronting them, and we are carefronting them, and we are telling them the way it is. But we also have an altar call, and we'll hug them, and we'll pray for them, and we'll forgive them, and we'll tell them God forgives them, and He loves them, and they're on their way to heaven, and all they have to do is accept Christ. You have anything on that?
I didn't have anything on that. That was
Okay.
There needed to be nothing added. That was perfect. But I did want to. I wanted to say something to encourage you, because I think with the enabling, especially with parents that are enablers, it's going to be important. I want you to understand that you're going to probably feel like you're burning at the candle on both ends, because you're going to be trying to minister to this person and try to get them to come in the program, and you're going to have some enabling parents out there that are doubting.
They're working against you, actually.
Yeah. You know, those Facebook review, or not Facebook, but those reviews that I read to you guys last night on SiteJabber, most of those negative reviews come from parents of people that were in the program. And they put that stuff on there because they believe it. As crazy, not as much as crazy as those things that they said on there are, they actually believe that if they can't make enough money, they got to fast for 3 days and repent. Like, they actually believe that stuff, and they're going to be nagging at you about it, and it's going to be frustrating. You're going to feel like David when it says that he had the family members, all their family members were taken, all the wives and their children, the soldiers' wives and children, and his wives and children, and they were all looking to kill him. And it said David had to encourage himself in the Lord. You know, that's why it's so important to have prayed up, because you're going to be trying to minister to this person and get them in the program. You're going to have this parent coming at you with doubts. And then not only that, then you're going to have your own life that you're already living. You know, if you're working, you got your own job, and then, you know, you got your own responsibilities on top of it. And it's going to wear on you. And it's so easy to get worn out to the point where you end up, you know, saying, you know what, forget it. It's real easy to do, especially if you end up getting hurt by it. Pastor Wayne tells this story. He told me this story, and I'd actually originally put it in the manual because I found it very profound. There was a story of a guy, and I'm going to kind of shorten it up, but this guy that needed help, but he was staying with Pastor Wayne for a little bit. He asked Pastor Wayne if he could borrow his car, and he said, how about I give you a ride instead? Well, he ended up a couple days later going to somebody else's house, and he stayed there for a few days. He said, can I borrow your car so I can go get a job? And the guy said, sure. And I think he saw the vehicle, 3 weeks later, torn up.
Well, actually, they called him from California and said, hey, we have your car. And it was an impound, and it was burned up, you know, whatever, and they wanted him to pay to get his car out and take it to the junkyard.
Yeah. Well, you know, somebody that has that type of experience, they're like, you know what, forget this.
Yeah.
You know.
When you get burned, people quit. And that's, you know, I was going to warn them about that, but I'm glad you brought it up, so we'll do it. I can tell you many stories like that where we had, and it wasn't like this where we're doing formal training. I just had volunteers that helped me, work with me when I was in Phoenix Teen Challenge, and they would do jail ministries and everything, but they were kind-hearted people. They really wanted to help. And, you know, because we didn't have a and I'm going to talk a little bit about taking people in your house, but my wife and I didn't have any kids and everything, and we'd take people in our house until we can send them on, because we were in Phoenix, but we didn't have a center there. We had to send them to Colorado and to California and everything, and sometimes it would take several days to make that process occur, so we'd take them into our house. But God gave us some wisdom of, you know, we were shrewd as serpents, and we were not going to let them use our car. We wouldn't let them stay at our house without us there. We looked through all our medicine cabinets to make sure nothing could be stolen. My wife slept with the purse. I mean, just all the precautions you have. And you know what? They would be with me a little bit, and they would somehow connect with one of my volunteers, and we've had diamond rings stolen, and we had cars stolen and everything. And I felt bad because I kind of felt like it was partly my responsibility, and I think part of it was maybe I should have been training them. I should have been telling. We didn't have a formal training like this. but I kind of felt like I would like to tell people, this is the first time I've had that opportunity to tell people the way it really is. Satan is alive in their lives, and it's going to take a year to get that junk out of their lives. Expect it, and be shrewd and realize that that they're going to try to take advantage of you, and because they're seeking drugs. They want their drugs. They want that's a lifestyle they've been living, and so we're trying to prevent that from happening to you. And like he said, several of these people that were volunteers that were helping me, good-hearted Christians that would give the shirt off their back, they were done. I guess this ministry isn't for me. Okay? I don't want that to happen to you. Now, I did have a few things stolen from me, but my wife and I were extremely poor, working at Teen Challenge, and we didn't have anything to steal. That was part of the problem. But then we had kids, and we really couldn't have people in our house. But then after that, my kids got older, and we had people in our house, and we did have things like a cell phone stolen or something like that. You cannot prevent it all. So you just kind of have to say, well, all right, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. However, we need to use wisdom. You need to look in your medicine cabinet and say, and you might say, well, I don't have narcotics in there. Well, one, you don't know what you have. You really don't know what you have. They will abuse anything. So any prescription, anything like that, if you have anybody in your house, even for a meal, you got to take that purse, lock it up. You got to take those prescriptions. I had a guy who was he was like hired some of our guys that were in the program, and he'd hire them at his house to do some work. And he was just talking to the guys and said, yeah, I have some kidney problems, and I had kidney stones. And, he's just sharing a little bit about it. Now, all of you think, oh, okay. Do you know what the guys were thinking? What were they thinking?
Pain meds.
Pain meds, yeah. Oh, this guy must have pain meds in the house. That's what they're thinking. The rest of us, we're sympathetic. Hey, can I pray for you? They're thinking he must have pain meds. So one of the guys says, hey, can I go to the bathroom? I need to go to the bathroom. Well, I went to the bathroom and looked in the medicine cabinet, and I found this out from him later on. No pain meds. So this is how they think. And I'm not putting them down, but when you get this way, you start thinking. He says, well, where do people take medicine? It's either in the bathroom where there's water or at the kitchen sink where there's water. So he goes to the sink, right hand, this guy's right-handed, opens up the cabinet, there's the pain meds right there, takes the bottle, takes about 3/4 of them, leaves the rest there, so that the guy will I think, oh, I thought I had more meds here. Okay, well, I guess I got to go order more. They're slick. And I'm not trying to put them down, but they're slick. And these are the kinds of things that they think all the time. And you've got to be very aware. We cannot always stay a step ahead of people, but you can ask us. And we can help you through some of these things. But yeah, occasionally you're going to get burned a little bit. But don't let Satan rob what he's trying to do through you if you get burned a little. Because I've been burned. It happens.
Well, I was going to say Jesus got burned.
Yeah, that's
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Judas, right? But I wanted to share this story. This was the craziest thing, and to me, this is one of the craziest things ever. At the Teen Challenge that I was at one point, there was this little old lady, and she would pay the ministries a little bit for us to come and pull weeds at her house and mow her yard. We'd been doing it for years. Longer than I'd probably ever been there, and probably still doing it today. But she had these little flowers that she really liked the flowers. Well, we had a guy that happened to know that this specific flower, the seeds could make you hallucinate. And, she probably thought he was doing her a favor. He brought all these seeds back to the property and passed them around a little bit, and next thing you know, I have one guy who is rolling around in it naked on the property on leaves, and another guy who is raking in one spot for 2 hours, the same spot for 2 hours, and we end up having to take him to the hospital and get their stomach pumped. You know, and so it's going to happen. And this, you know, this little old lady, she felt all guilty. She's like, I just thought the flowers were pretty. And we're like, they are. This ain't your fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So don't kick yourself on these things,
You know,
but they will happen, and I just really encourage you to stay ahead of it. Now, I did say a little bit about bringing people in your house and everything, and I do not recommend that. I just really don't recommend it. Maybe one day when your ministry develops, you can have what we would call a crisis center, and that's maybe a year or two down the road, where you have a room in the church, or somebody, you know, a single wiser person who has a room in their house or something. And if you have somebody that just needs a day or two before they can get into the program, or you're trying to work with them, you know, we can put them up for a little bit and they can be watched. But, you know, anybody that's in my house, they're watched all the time. They cannot go anywhere. They're not a guest in my home. They just, you know, they'll even throw this guilt trip at me, like, don't you trust me? And my answer is no. You know, I of course not. You know, you look at your lifestyle. You know, trust is earned. And I just hit them with the truth. I in a nice way, but no, I don't. Why would I trust you? You know, I don't even really know you that well, but I'm trying to help you. So, you know, all these things about letting them use your car or whatever. Now, the only way I would allow anybody to be in my home is if they really are, this is a person that's on his way into treatment. He's on his way to, you know, but if I'm just giving them a place to stay, you're just enabling them. You know, or even if say, well, I'll pay for your motel for a night, I'll help you out. You're doing it out of guilt. You're doing it out of, well, I don't want him to be out in the cold, and he's lived that life all his life. One more night, you know, I'm not going to be the one putting up the money. You know, the money, I'd rather give the money to the church than pay $50 for a motel room or buy a meal. We talked about this earlier. I bring my own lunch to work many times and everything, and people want to come and they can I have money for lunch? Or really, they want it for alcohol. But can I have money? I want to go over across the street for Burger King. Well, I have this lunch. No, thank you. That's how I screen more people about how serious they are by, well, finally, this one 18-year-old kid, it happened to be a cold day in Phoenix, which doesn't happen often. It was rainy and cold, and this kid is about 18 years old, and all I had was this old popcorn, and I said, you know, I was doing the same thing. I said, well, all I have is this popcorn. He just ate it up like crazy. Guess what? I was buying him a meal. Okay? And he, you know, I don't know if we ever got him in the program, but there are ways to handle these situations, but do never feel guilty if you have to say, no, you can't stay tonight with me. I know you can't borrow my car. You know, the most I do is I'll give them a ride somewhere. But my goal is to get them in the program. God has not called me. I mean, I have done, you know, I was doing it now during COVID. We're giving out food for the schools. I don't know if they do that around here, the school lunches, when the kids, you know, go into their house. And I took part in that, and that's fine, but that's not my calling. My calling isn't to give people food and to all that. My calling is to get them in our program and get them discipled. And if that's your calling, then just say, no, that's not, you know, go down to the Salvation Army or go somewhere else, because that's not what we do. And maybe that's just a way of getting rid of these people, but that's their calling. And let them do what they do well, and I'll do what I can do well. And if you want to be trained to do this and help people with drug and alcohol addiction, you know, you can't do everything. So I know a pastor was saying that we have some kind of benevolence thing. We'll send them the pastor. Hey, I need my bill paid. Okay, go see pastor. He has some kind of a plan. Does the ministers in this area have like a alliance that does that? So,
Yeah, Wheeling is like a hub for. So from what I've learned, Wheeling has lots of resources. So there's plenty of stuff in town where people can get a meal or get a night's stay. So
Okay.
we just refer that out, and but I have a good vetting process for our benevolence
yeah.
here.
So if they're looking for that, send them the pastor, and he will work them out. Usually, what it is they burnt those people out enough, and they're no longer welcome over there because they abused them. So they're looking for somebody else. Let's not be that. Let's do what God has called us to do, and that is to get people into treatment. Now, again, when you start celebrate recovery or whatever, that would be part of it too. But let's get focused because people manipulate. Another thing I want to say about this manipulation, you heard the word con, people con people. Do you know where that comes from? Do you know what the word con comes from? Nope. Pastor? Do you know? It comes from the word confidence. Okay? It is people who con people. It's a type of manipulation. They con people. They try to get your confidence. I'll give you some examples. Confidence men, exactly. But what they'll do is they'll try, they take the scripture that says, he who is faithful in a little thing will be entrusted with bigger things. They don't know that they're twisting that scripture, but they are. They know that if I can get you, I can do little things for you and whatever, that you will know that I'm just a good old guy and you can trust me. And I'll give you some examples. This is one of those guys that stole a car or whatever, but this is in Phoenix. It was really busy and everything, and I just needed something. I can't even remember. Let's just say a pen or something. And I had this guy who was trying to get in the program, and it was rainy. It was terrible. And I said, just go in Walmart. Here's $5 or $10, and go buy this and come back. And he comes back with them. Here's your thing. Here's the receipt. Here's your change. What's he doing? You can trust me. And then later on, my wife was my secretary at the time, and he brings her a little cactus and everything because he's just a charming young man, and there's he just really is okay, and I was kind of onto this a little bit, and I wasn't really sure about it, but then eventually he did the big thing. Hey, can I borrow your car? I want to go do this. And it was like the Holy Spirit told me, no, just don't do it. I'll drive you. And that's what led to him leaving, and he did the same game with other people till he got them. Do not be conned. The more charming they are, the more helpful. I've had people in my house, I'll wash the dishes for you, Mrs. Simo. I'll do, they better wash the dishes. I'll tell them to wash the dishes. You're not a guest in my home. But at the same time, be very aware. The more charming, the more helpful, the more giving they are, more likely they're trying to gain your confidence, that you'll trust them to the point where they'll burn you, okay? So that's just a little warning about that kind of thing. Manipulation goes very, very deep. I'm not trying to scare you. It can, you still can get burned. I still get burned, but that's how these things. We're just trying to break through that. That's what we're really trying to do. It's not so much that I don't want to be con. It's more like I'm trying to help him not be a con anymore. It's not so much that I don't want him lying to me. I know they lie to me all the time. I just want him to get healed enough that he doesn't feel like he has to lie to me anymore. I want to help him. We'll do all kinds of things for the person, but they don't need to lie to me to get what they need. And they don't even know what they need. They think they need $20. I think they need Jesus.
Well, amen.
Okay? They need the program. And so we're fighting this battle with Satan. And he's the prize. God wants them and Satan wants them, and we're there just helping them. And sometimes you just got to be tough, and you got to say this is the way it's going to be. And I'm not gonna go do that. Again, stay in touch with us if you ever have any question about helping anybody in any way. You can call him all night, I don't care. Okay, anything else? And then we'll move on to a different subject here.
Did you say you had something?
Yeah. About manipulation, or the manipulation thing. I mean, at the time, I was in active addiction, but there was someone coming into my house, and you were talking about being sneaky. My son was on a form of Ritalin. This guy was going into the bathroom, taking the capsules, pouring out the stuff, and then refilling it with sugar and salt. Mm-hmm. Couldn't figure out why my son's medicine wasn't working. And there it was. He wasn't even getting the medicine. He was getting a placebo because the other guy came in and took all the meds.
Mm-hmm. See, and I'm telling you, we can tell you these stories over and over again. We're not trying to scare you. We're just trying to say, please be wise. When you're trying to help people, be wise and do your best to, I mean, I probably would have been conned by that one myself, as long as I've been doing this. But I will tell you this, that's why I say, if you ever have anybody in your house, even if it's just for dinner, they're going to want to go to the bathroom and they're going to go straight to that medicine cabinet. I won't ask how many of you in this room went to somebody's house and looked in their medicine cabinet. We'll leave that one alone. But that's what they do, and they look to see, and they look and they see these psychotropic medicines that, like if your son is taking some kind of medication for what, I don't know. Huh? Autism or whatever. They know, oh, well, I can take this. So I don't care what it is, ibuprofen or aspirin or whatever. I'm going to lock it away. They're not going to have it. And any kind of forms of valuables, whether it's jewelry or, I mean, it's a pain to go through your house and everything. I suggest if you're going to do this, you do it ahead of time. I don't want to offend people by going, oh, well, before you come in the house, I'm going to do some straightening up, and really what you're doing, they know what you're doing. And then they say, well, don't you trust me? And then you say, yeah. But it's better just to put all that stuff away. I am not encouraging you to bring people in your house at all, to be honest with you. I'm not encouraging you to, the most I think you could do is maybe give them a ride somewhere, okay? If you're going to help us by driving them to Akron, well, I would certainly ask you to have somebody who really knows what they're doing along with you, somebody who's not going to, you can do the driving and use your car, but have somebody along with you who's going to, be, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not stopping at McDonald's, and we're not, stop at this house and just say goodbye to mom. You should have said goodbye to mom a long time ago, and just learn the word no. My name is Wayne Simo. You know what my nickname is?
What?
Wayne Say No. When all the way working through Teen Challenge, my name was Wayne Say No. And I would tell them, no, it's Simo. I see mode and you think I do. But, I didn't really like that, but in a sense it was like, you're not, the answer is no. And I usually tell the students, I like to say yes. You just got to ask the right question. And lots of times I will say yes, and sometimes it's a privilege, and sometimes it's a this and that, but you're asking things that are just all the wrong questions. You're just trying to manipulate and everything. No, of course I'm going to say no, okay? Learn to say no. Learn to say no a lot. Now, there are nice ways to say it, and no, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm going to have to pray about that one first. I use that one, and the truth is I do pray. Can I do this, or could I, can you give me this, or can we, let me pray about that one. And then I do pray, and on a rare occasion I'll say, yeah, okay, we'll do that. But other times I say, no, I really talked to the Lord, and seriously, the Lord told me, no, that's not a good idea, don't do it. Okay? Learn, different ways to say no, but no, we're not going to do that. Okay? All right, well, we can move on to another subject here because I think this is equally important of what, and we may come back to some of these things, but what to do when people are in the program. Now, he already said, what's the word?
Touched up on it.
Huh?
I touched up on it.
Yeah, touch on. I wanted to say he did the spoiler, but pray. I mean, you got, as soon as this guy gets, you should be praying with him, praying with his family, whatever thing, long before. But then then you're really praying because you are now incommunicated. Well, you can't talk to him, okay? But you can talk to Jesus. But you can tell them, I'm going to be praying for you every day, and if you decide to leave that program, you're going to be convicted by the Holy Spirit because me and God, we got a thing going on, and we're going to be talking. You're going to be convicted about not leaving that program. Okay? Put the fear of God, and I am praying that you will stay and you're going to be successful, and I'm praying for you every day, and be honest and really do pray for him every day. Okay?
Yeah, I was going to say you're standing in the gap.
Yeah.
Because it's you need to look at it as this is life and death for that person, because it really is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that everybody that leaves the program dies, but some do.
A lot do.
Yeah, some do.
We can tell you stories all the time.
Yeah, I'll throw a few of them out there just in the past year. Well, first off, I'm sure a lot of you knew Ricky, right? He was one that was there. He passed away. I did a funeral for a guy that passed away like a month and a half ago. We had another guy who was from Springfield, Ohio. He was connected with a church that I was connected with, and he came up here. He was there for 2 months. He had an ex-wife who was an enabler. She was married and was married to somebody else, and she still came all the way up to Akron from Springfield and brought him home. And then, like 30 days later, I get a text message from the pastor that said that he was dead with a needle in his arm. This really is life and death.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially now with that fentanyl. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're putting that crap in everything, and that stuff can kill, or is killing people. I'm hearing they're putting it on marijuana. I'm hearing in Sandusky, at least for a season, some drug dealer got a hold of one of those pill presses, and they were making fentanyl, but they were making it look like it was a different drug. So, I think it was Percocets, actually. They were making it look like Percocets, which is another
narcotic.
It's another narcotic, but it's not as strong as fentanyl. So they're taking this fentanyl thinking it's Percocets, and they're dying left and right.
Yeah. So it really is happening all the time. This is a reality, and guess what? It's a reality that you are going to run into, and you're going to say, "I helped this guy, and he died." I didn't hear that.
Grain? Is it true that it only takes a grain of fentanyl to kill you?
Oh,
That's car fentanyl. That's the next level. That's the stuff they use to put down elephants.
okay.
That's car fentanyl. That's the stuff they use to put down elephants. And that stuff you like two
But it is
grains
that
of salt.
powerful. Yeah, it's crazy.
It really is.
They told me when I had overdosed, the worker called me and said, "You're going to die." They found both kinds of fentanyl in my system, and I was gone within minutes. They had to Narcan me twice. So.
And did you even know that you were taking fentanyl? It was somehow somebody put it in there. Yeah. Now we throw out all these names of all these drugs like fentanyl and Percocets and all that. You may not even know what that is. You don't even need to know.
Yeah.
You just need to know that these drugs are killing people, and that we are in the fight to keep them from dying.
Yeah. As I walk this way, I want to share another story. One of the worst things that I've had to experience was a guy who overdosed and was in a coma, brain dead, on life support, and I had to watch his mom hold his hand, crying, for him to come back to life when he was brain dead. It's one of the worst things to experience. And we can stop it. Our prayers have a lot of power, a lot more power than sometimes we really want to think and believe. And our prayers can really shut the door of the enemy when he's trying to take his life.
Amen.
I got something to say. I have a daughter, and I'll make this short, and she's in severe pain every month from childhood because she fell out of a tree and messed her spine up. So what she's doing now is taking a drug that's a woman downtown in an alley is selling this drug. It's in some kind of, I don't know, some kind of substance. I don't know what it is, like a liquid substance, and then you drink juice with it and everything. And this is very highly expensive. And I don't know if that is dangerous or what, but I know it costs a lot of money. Sometimes it goes into hundreds of dollars. And I don't know what the deal is with this.
If she's buying it in the alley, it's dangerous. You
Yeah.
can bet on it. Anyway, we really could go on and on with that, but I wanted to go back to the idea of talking about while the people are in a program. Where I think the focus needs to be is on the family. Once they're in the program, you are now that connection. I can tell you hundreds of times where people who do not know the Lord, do not know anything about what's going on, and their son or daughter gets into our program, and God gets a hold of their life, and they get saved, and they get, they're in church, and sometimes their son never makes it through the program and dies, but they're still serving the Lord, and they're still, I think that's where your ministry goes beyond even referring them to our program. Because, you started out by just saying, hey, we want to help your son. We're here to help your son, or we're here to help your daughter, and we'll give you some tips about tough love, and we'll give you tips about, how to deal with this situation. We'll pray with you. See, then you say, well, and I'm telling you, people say they're atheists and they, whatever, but when their back is against the wall, and I just say, hey, I know you're not, I know you're a Buddhist, or I know whatever, but I'm telling you, I pray with people who are Buddhists, because they're like, when their back is against the wall and their husband or daughter, their son or whatever is needing help, I say, would it be okay if I pray for you? And I pray for them, and they're crying, and, oh, thank you so much, and it's a tactic I use as I call it praying twice, where I pray for their son or daughter, for whatever, and then I say, and let me ask you, have you ever accepted Jesus Christ as your Savior? Do you know what, do you realize that you need Jesus too? Oh, yeah. And often, okay, let's pray it, and they accept Christ with me. It may be that I'm working with their son or daughter for a while, and they get to know me, but I've led a lot of people to the Lord that are moms and dads and sisters and wives and all that, and we win whole families. You probably have seen that. Whole families come to the Lord after we're helping their son or daughter, and sometimes the son or daughter doesn't even get the help they need. That's where your ministry really can kick in, and you can fill this church up. I'm serious, you can, with that kind of thing. And wouldn't that be nice, Pastor?
I'll just share a quick testimony. My mom, she lived a homosexual lifestyle pretty much all my childhood, most of my adult life. And, her lifestyle is actually what kind of kept me reserved from ever wanting to be a Christian, even though I never went that route in my life. But once I got saved and I started serving the Lord, it didn't happen right away. It didn't happen while I was in the program, but over probably a period of about 6 or 7 years, she eventually actually renounced that lifestyle, and she, she doesn't really come to church very much, but she tries, she reads her Bible. She's really big into like preachers on YouTube, but she likes to listen to preachers on YouTube, and she really likes those street preachers that basically have a microphone and say, turn or burn. But she hasn't been in a homosexual relationship now, I think, in about 7 years.
Okay. And it's, obviously she's not exactly where we want to see her go, and she's in that process.
Yeah.
But these are things we hear all the time. Family members, won to the Lord, changed, that's where you work with these people. And you start the process by just contacting them and said, I met your son here or there, and he tells me this and this, can I come over and talk with you? And you start that process along with them, okay? And guess what? And we're not going to talk about it tonight, but we can if you want a little bit, but that's where aftercare comes in too, because then when they come home, then you're there to help them readjust the home and what is good to do and what not to do and everything. So, I mean, this is a commitment with a family that could last years or maybe even a lifetime, Realize that that's what we're really doing. This isn't just a one and done type of thing, okay? Another thing that we are doing while they're in the program is you can bet, I probably would be 100% on this, that everybody comes in our program wants to leave. And sometimes God told them to leave. And they come up with everything, and you know what? They have the best reasons in the world, and I wouldn't argue with them. I have a son, and I got to pay child support. I got a wife, and she's getting kicked out of the house if I don't get home and get my job back. These are real situations, okay? Some of them are just a bunch of lies and twisted and everything, but a lot of them are very real, and these are things that we deal with on a daily basis, and they want to leave the program, okay? You need to be praying them that they're going to stay, because the most important thing for them to do is not to be home, because you know what? God will take care of them, and you may be part of that. I'm not saying you pay the rent or anything like that. In some cases, people do, but you don't, God's got a way of making these things happen, and you just got to be alongside there to help them trust God that God's going to take care of it. Now, then maybe they have to move out of their house and go back and live with mom and dad for a while. That's okay. They may have to take their son or daughter and bring them to their sister and say, hey, can you please take care of my son while I'm in this program? We can assist and make those kind of suggestions, and that's where you have pastor as a resource and everything. We're there to help make them stay, take away all their excuses from leaving, okay? And so, there's a lot of them will I have all this stuff, and I don't know what to do with all this stuff. Well, you may wind up saying, well, my garage is empty. I'll let you store your stuff while you're there. Or somebody that will. Or what I usually say is sell it. I got this truck and I got all these truck payments. I got to sell the truck. Okay, we're there to kind of help them through all that to take away those excuses. But sometimes you say, okay, you can park your your truck in my garage, and I'll watch it for you. Sometimes we got to do those kind of things to give them the reason to stay in the program. Okay. Again, I mean, some of these things are so tough. We need wisdom, and that's where you call us and say, "Hey, he says this or that. What should we do?" Because there are some tough situations, but I believe in a big God, and I believe that God will provide a way. There's rarely have I ever had a person in our program that said, "Well, I guess you're going to have to leave the program because you got to take care of this." I think I remember one time where it was a situation and I said, okay, go ahead and leave, but come back sometime. But all the other ones, all these years, it's like, you don't need to leave over that. I'll make some phone calls. We'll make sure that gets taken care of. But they will call home, because we do let them call mom and dad and everything, and they will lay it on thick. And some of it is a lot of baloney, and some of it is very, very real. And they're going to be saying, I need to come home for this or that or this or that, and they'll be very real, and they'll go to, and that's where you're saying, don't let him come home. Don't let him come home. He doesn't need to do that. Don't go pick him up. Don't drive there. You're going to start the cycle all over again, and you're going to have to be that support and that tough person that says, this is a bad idea. Do not let them finish the program. My belief is, our program isn't for everybody. I know there are other programs out there. There are great programs out there. Ours isn't for anybody. But If God leads them into our program, God does not change his mind and say, oh, well, maybe this isn't the right program. I sent you the wrong program. Once they're in our program, I believe God wants them to finish our program, and he will make a way to make that happen. So, you know, all this stuff like God told me to leave because I got to take care of this, and they're really good reasons. They're just not, they're just lies from Satan. You have a comment on that? No? I thought you did.
One other thing too that people say to leave, and that's what actually Adam did, was he'd been in all kinds of other rehabs. Honestly, I shouldn't say it this way, but a lot of secular rehabs are really like a vacation. I'm just being honest. It's almost like it's just basically some time to dry out and clear your head a little bit.
They all say that, and it's true.
And
a lot of guys will say that.
I mean, I went into one, it was a 3-month-long one. Basically, we just hung out. They had AA meetings on the property that we had to attend. We were allowed to smoke. We were allowed to have porn. We were allowed to just basically do whatever we wanted, except as long as we attended those meetings while we were there for 3 months. And that was pretty much it. And a lot of places are like that. And so when somebody that's been in those places all the time, that's what they're expecting. And so when they come to a place like this where they don't get porn, they don't
You have
get
to get up at
cigarettes,
6 in the morning
you gotta
and do
get up
praise
at
and
6 in the
worship.
morning. Yeah. You know, you can't just walk around the property like you want to, you know, whenever you want to. You can't just make phone calls whenever you want to. You can't just do whatever you want. You know, you've actually got to do something to help work in your recovery, you know, or your, I don't want to necessarily say just recovery, but into you've got to actually walk out being a new creation in Christ. You know what I mean? Just sitting there is not going to cut it. You will not be a new creation sitting there. And it's, but you know, because that's what they're used to. They've gotten themselves in that routine of just, you know, going somewhere for 30 days or 90 days or whatever. You know, they get in that routine. A lot of times they'll leave over that because they have an expectation, and they're not that expectation is not being met. Even though if they finish the program, they'll have more freedom than they've ever had in their life, beyond what they've expected. You know, but I don't know. It's crazy.
Okay. So, going back to your role with the family, I guess I call it you're a liaison between us and the family. You're representing us and what we would like to say to mom and dad when they're in the program, and you are reminding them of the rules. You know, so many times they try to mom will sneak letters from his girlfriend, and they'll just put her name on the thing, and we're reading this weird letter from his mom, and it's like it smells like perfume and all. You're there to say, Mom, don't do that. And she'll say, well, what's wrong with it? There's nothing. You know, you may not know, but you're there to help us explain this is not good for them. You can call us and we'll try to help you, but let them know, this is not, if he's pressuring you to come home, don't go there. If you have a visit, don't try to sneak them cigarettes. I cannot tell you how many moms bring tobacco and chewing tobacco, and they sneak it to their sons. I mean, I had a mom. This guy tested positive. We test all the time. Okay, so he tested positive for nicotine, and he just lied to me that he did not know. I must have drank too much coffee, which I know that's not going to do it. But I don't know how it could. He's going on and on. He was facing 8 years in prison if he got kicked out of the program, or whatever. No. I didn't do this. And he was. They try to lie their way out. They're so good. I have been lied to so many times, and yet I still sometimes buy the lie. And it's like, well, maybe something went wrong with our test. Maybe maybe we switch to urine samples, or, I mean, no. But yet, they get me thinking that way. And this guy, you know, he held, and he said, why would I lie? I'm facing 8 years in prison if I get kicked out of here. I said, no. I finally said, no, the test doesn't lie. You're going to have to leave the program if you don't confess to what you did. Well, then his mama calls me and says, you know, why are you kicking about and all this stuff and everything. And finally it comes out, I told him he would get caught. I said, what do you mean? He had her buy a what do they call it, a log, a roll, anyway, 8 cans of chewing tobacco, and brought it to him, and she told me that, and she said, I told him he was going to get caught, and he said, no, he won't get caught, and they never test me, and all. It was God, I think. So you know, I had to ask Mom's permission. I said, is it okay if I tell him what you told me? I always do that because I feel like I need to do that. In fact, I want to talk a little bit about confidentiality in a minute anyway. But I said, did you know, can I tell? And she said, yeah. So I told him, because she was like, I don't want him kicked out, so you better tell him that I told on him. So I told him, and he was so mad at Mom and at me and everything. And he still denied it. He left the program, went to prison. Didn't do 8 years, but he got out a little bit. Happened to be at my daughter's graduation because his daughter graduated at the same time. He was all messed up at the graduation. A few months later, he was dead. Okay, that's where you come in and you're telling Mom, don't do it. They'll tell you to sneak this in or on a visit or to, you know, not tell or anything. You're enabling. You know, it's while they're in the program, you are still there, giving them good counsel, giving them good wisdom, and everything like that. I
was just going to say, we had an incident not too long ago where a mom snuck in gave their son a cell phone.
Which is not allowed, of course.
Right, and when we contacted her, because he wouldn't cough it up, that's how we ended up finding out. We told her, you know, we know he has a cell phone, and he's just not admitting it, so we have to kick him out. She's like, I got him the phone. Like, she said it like
it's her fault, not his?
Like so what? You know what I mean? And we're like, well, we're going to have to let his probation officer know that he violated the rules, he wouldn't confess to it, and we had to kick him out. And if he goes to prison, it's your fault.
Mm-hmm. That's enabling. But see, that's where you can help encourage them, just stay with the rules. These people know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. Let them, you know, you may not understand the rules and what's wrong with this or that. And my son says it's okay and everything. Don't, just keep encouraging them to do that.
Yeah.
They will lie to Mom about going. I mean, I've had students leave the program, go to Mom and say, well, they let me out early because I'm doing so well. I want you to know our program is a year long, sometimes
minimum.
Plus. Minimum. Sometimes because for discipline, we have to add a 30 days or something like that. You're there to say, no, that's not the case. I know this program, it's a year long. They never let people out early for good behavior, because they're doing so good. The opposite is also true. I had a guy say to his mom, they want me to stay on again. We happen to be picking apples as a work thing, and well, they want me to stay on an extra month or two. Says I'm such a good apple picker, and so they asked me to stay, so I'm going to stay. You know, does that really make sense to you? Well, what really occurred was he was doing something wrong. He got extra time in the program, but he didn't want to tell Mom. Now he's an adult, and he doesn't have to tell Mom anything. But what I won't tolerate is you're not going to lie to Mom. So if you want to tell Mom, I'm staying in the program extra time, but I don't want to tell you why, that's your business. But don't you lie to her and tell her that we asked him to stay on. Again, so you can kind of help us see through those things. If God gives us wisdom on how to deal with these people and say, you know what, that doesn't sound right. I think we need to call. That's where I want to get into the subject of confidentiality. We are under law, what they call HIPAA laws. And some of you are familiar with HIPAA laws that say they have privacy rights. We can't even tell a person that he's even in the program. In fact, legally, I can't even tell a policeman he's in the program. Now, maybe his probation officer or the judge, to confirm that they're still there. But if pastor calls me and says, "Is Joe still there?" Legally, I can't even tell him if he's still there. Now, I have ways around that little thing, but so if you were to call and say, "Is Joe still there? I sent him 3 months ago, but how's he doing?" I'm sorry, I can't tell you, because the law says I can't tell you. Okay, it's kind of crazy, and it kind of makes me mad, because sometimes I want to talk to mom and say, "Do you know what he's doing?" and everything. But guess what? Mom can talk to me. She's not under HIPAA laws, so she can tell me anything. So if she says, "Well, he's telling me that it's okay that I can have a cell phone once I'm in the program for 6 months, that I'm allowed to have a cell phone," she can tell me that because she's not under HIPAA law. I just can't tell her, "Hey, he's got a cell phone. He's got extra time because he got a cell phone." That's where you can help too, is where you can just say, "Hey, you need to tell them that you just sent him a cell phone," or you need to tell them that he is asking for a cell phone, and she can call me and tell me anything, that he's doing or saying or anything like that, and it's perfectly legal. It's just not the other way around. Okay, and I know that doesn't sound fair, and I don't like it, but that's the law. Okay, but help us out with that, and you're really helping him. Because again, we're breaking through the denial. Remember I told you that this lasts for a long time. You're just breaking through a little bit just to get them in the program, but they're in denial and lying and manipulating, sometimes into their last month of the program and beyond. And that's when we get into aftercare, because some of this stuff still hangs on. In other words, God often delivers people from drugs and alcohol, but all the mechanisms, what I call mechanisms that keep the drug and alcohol addiction alive, they take a long time to go away. The manipulation and the lying and the deception, sometimes it takes a long time for that stuff to go away, because they get so good at it, they don't even know they're doing it. Okay, so help us out with that. But the confidentiality laws really apply to you as well. I may be a little out there a little bit, but I think we need to assume that they have, in other words, HIPAA law belongs to you. Because you're representing us, that you got to be careful that you're not telling other people his business or her business. Okay, so please, if you help somebody get in the program, don't go around giving a testimony, "I got Joe Blow into the program. He's in Life Changers." I don't think anything would happen if you did, but really you kind of open yourself up, that I kind of think, and I don't know for a fact, but I kind of think you're under HIPAA laws if you're representing us. You think so? I don't know.
I don't know. I thought we had a form. At least I know we did at Teen Challenge, but I thought we had a form that they could put down people that they approved, that they could call and ask for information about.
Yeah, the form and I made up the form and everything, and I know what it is, but that has to be on a case-by-case basis for a particular reason. I'll give you an example of that. Guy leaves the program, and he tells his mom a bunch of lies. "Oh, they let me go early," or, and this is the biggest one, if they get kicked out or whatever, they'll say, "I was railroaded. This other guy really did it, but I got the, he blamed me, and they believed him, and they didn't believe me." And that happens all the time when somebody leaves. Okay, that happens. Mama calls me, "Why did you kick him out of my program?" Guess what my answer has to be? "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I can't tell you, because the law says I can't tell you." Okay? Where I get around that is I say, "Mama, did you let him back into your house? well, yeah, he had nowhere to go and everything. But didn't you tell him that if he doesn't finish that program, he can't come home? Yeah, but he got railroaded out of the program. And I just say, well, did he ever in his life ever lie to you? Yeah. Well, is it possible he might be lying about this one? See, so I kind of can get around this. I won't tell her that he's lying, but mainly what I do tell them is I say, and that's where the signing the thing comes in. I say, listen, I cannot legally tell you why he is no longer a student in our program. But if he signs a piece of paper that says that I can disclose to you why he is no longer in our program, then send it to me, then I'll be able to tell you if his story is true or not or what's going on. I've never got that paper signed because they know that they're not going to, I'm not signing that. No. They don't want to sign the paper because they know that they're lying to mom so. But I just say, if they won't sign the paper, don't let them in the house until they do it your way, and it's got to be their way. Say, if you sign that paper and I find out what the reason why you left the program, then I'll let you back in the house, or we'll get you back in the program. And that's really our goal, is to get them back in the program. I want you to know, somebody gets kicked out or they leave, we want them back. We're not like hard on that. Now, the only way that we don't want them to come back is if it's like their 7th time. And even then, sometimes they'll say, you know what, maybe you don't need to be in Akron. Well, I think we're going to send you to our New Mexico Center, because obviously you're not getting it here. We want them back, and that's where you can help them too. Is you say, as soon as they come back and mom gives them a hug and makes them a nice big meal and welcome home the prodigal son, da-da-da-da-da-da. They don't need all that. They don't need a party. They didn't finish their thing. You need to say, Mom, don't play that game. We need to get them right back into that program. And just tell them they need to be back in the program, and that to call us. And they won't let me back until I tell them this, and that's not true, and I'll have to lie. I can't tell you how many times people say, well, they want me to lie and say I smoked a cigarette when I didn't, and I'm not going to lie. They tested positive. They play these games over and over again, and you kind of have to help us cut through all that and say, no, that's not true. This is what's really going on here, okay? And we will be happy to take them back, right? We want them back.
Yes.
But of course, under our circumstances, which is, I think you need to tell the truth. And you know what? When they tell the truth, you know what we do? We smack them around and say, we hug them, we love them, and we say, hey, God bless you. You are forgiven. Let's go forward. And we do that all the time. We've done it all the time. I think they really believe that they're going to come back and we're just going to do all kinds of horrible things. I think they really believe it, but that's not true. Okay? We just say, okay, you had a little stumble here, we made a little mistake, let's get back on the horse and let's get back to doing what we need to be doing. That's what you can help us with that. Questions, comments, or anything on that? We're good? Say that again. I know you're joking, but what I didn't even hear what.
About a timeout chair.
Oh, a timeout chair. Yeah, we've done all those kind of things.
Do you want to go over this?
Yeah, you can.
Or do you want me to?
Yeah, I want you to go over that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a good point to do that. I mean, we're kind of trying to wind up here a little bit, and we're okay if you want to go early, but I wanted to make sure we got the basics here. Your question, if you have questions or something, we're not trying to rush you out of here either. But he wants to go over something that we have.
Okay. So this is an interview form. I'm actually going to leave this with you so you can make copies. This is basically what we do on a phone interview with somebody, and you can use this to kind of prep them for when they do the phone interview with us. But they need to know that they need to be truthful on these. That being truthful, even if they think we ain't going to like the answer, that doesn't mean that they won't be accepted. Matter of fact, if they lie on this thing, it's actually, they could risk being dismissed when we find out, if we find out it ain't true.
But there is a
But not-
genuine
probably
fear
not.
that, well, they won't accept me if they know, and then, whatever it is, I rob somebody at a gunpoint, or, we've had people murder people. And, have had them confess all kinds of crazy things to me, and, I don't particularly like that, but it's like, hey, Jesus loved murderers too, and so we're going to love them.
Paul wrote half the New Testament.
Now,
or
we
more
don't
than half
ask
the
if they
New-
murdered anybody on this, but we're just trying to make the point that we want to know what we're dealing with. We want to know what we're getting so that we can minister to them more effectively.
All right, so I'm not going to read every single thing, but I'm just going to kind of go over some of the stuff. Obviously, it's basic background information.
So explain again what this piece of paper is.
It's an interview form.
Okay, it's an interview form. This is remember we told you about the lady named Megan? She's the one that's going to do the interview. This is what she's going to have in front of her. So once they call you, you go through all this stuff. They say, yeah, I'm willing to go to this program. Then what we're asking you would probably be better that you have your phone there and say, okay, let's call. Because they will never call. It's like, okay, I'm going to call them. Yeah, I'm going to call them tonight. Well, let's just call them right now. Because Megan will take a call almost any time. So let's just call them right now. And you're right there with the phone. And these are the questions that she's going to ask them.
Yeah.
Is this Monday to Friday, 8 to 5?
Pretty much Monday through Sunday, 8 to 10 p.m. She's pretty open. We don't try to get normal business hours, but she's pretty open to taking. That's
Yeah.
what we tell all, because we have these people in all our different centers that do what we call interview, and that's their job, is to be available. I wouldn't say 24/7, but 12/7.
26.
And so she'll take that call.
Yeah, and if she doesn't answer, that you leave a voicemail and she'll
But
get back
she's
with
pretty
you.
good about
Yeah.
answering.
So basic information, like where you're from and all that kind of stuff, and then do you have a driver's license? A quick why do you think you need our program? And then basically we want them to understand that it's a 12-month program, that it's a Christian program, that it's a spirit-filled program, that it's not medical, not psychiatric. Like I mentioned before, we'll take you to the hospital if you need to go to the hospital or a doctor from time to time, you know what I mean? But we're not a medical facility. We do not have doctors on staff. We do not have doctors on retainer, or licensed psychiatrists. Basically, we want them to fully understand that the kind of counseling they're going to get is pastoral counseling and biblical counseling. And that's because that's how we got our freedom. That's how I got mine. And God's no respecter of persons, right? If he does it for me, he'll do it for you. Or for them.
Basically, we want them to know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
We don't want a lot of surprises. Now, there are always surprises. Well, I didn't know we had to do this or that. But the more they know ahead of time, the better. We're not trying to hide anything from them. And if you don't know, then give us a call. And, I have all kinds of questions. Well, can I bring my guitar? Can I do this? Can I bring a radio? Can I bring... I can't have my phone, but can I bring an MP3 player or whatever? Call us and ask us, and we'll, most of the time the answer is going to be no, but you can call us and ask us anyway. But we want them to know that there are a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions, a lot of Jesus, a lot of prayer, a lot of Bible. We don't want, I've had it where we screen them properly and they still come in, well, I didn't know we had to do this. I didn't know church was mandatory. I thought we could go if we want. Well, I'm Lutheran. I don't want to go. The more you let them know what the program is, the easier it is going to be when they get there. Okay.
We have on here too, it says we don't charge a tuition for the program. However, we do ask for a donation of $500. Not required. But I'll be honest, I almost don't even like it on there because that's one of the first things that they see that they'll try to manipulate their family. Be like, oh, they say you have to have $500 to come in the program, when that's not true. It's
How many times have you gotten $500?
Maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay, 2 or 3, and do you ever get less, like 100 or 200?
I've had, no, it's usually either the full amount or it's nothing.
Okay. So what we're really trying to say is, you know, if you're dealing with a fairly wealthy family and they can afford it, you should encourage them to give the $500. Face it, it probably costs us at least $1,000 a month or more just to keep them there.
Yeah.
So it really is nothing, but we will never make that an issue. I don't care if they're, you know, Jeff Bezos himself, and I mean, yeah, we've actually had some very wealthy people in our programs, and yet their parents won't give us a dime. Is that going to stop us from taking a student in? No. So, yeah, he's right. I don't like that question, but it's there.
Yeah. And then, do you have any upcoming court dates and charges? This is the one where they need to be truthful. We will take them if they've got court cases,
I got a question.
except sex offenses.
Can they be involved in transportation to court? Like if they have court here and someone here is willing to come and pick them up, or at least meet us halfway and take them to court, can they do that?
I don't see a reason why not. But if you guys want to do something like that, we need to make sure that everything's cool for you to be right beside them throughout the whole thing. You know, because I don't want them to sneak off or try to manipulate the judge.
Or go stop at a convenience store to go to the bathroom and buy cigarettes? You know,
Yeah.
that happens all the time. The reason I ask that is because in Teen Challenge, we always took guys to court and everything, to the point where, you know, we had so many people in the program, I was running the court all the time, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And we finally started telling the family, you got to come and get your son, because we can't do it, even though it risked them doing all these things. And it just was really helpful to us. So I didn't know if you're open to somebody here helping us out with that.
I mean, I'd have to discuss it with other people first, but I don't see a major problem with it as long as that we have some type of guide. Maybe we set up some guidelines.
Yeah, like, you know,
Like you
his
said,
girlfriend can't come and help pick him up. I mean, we've had that where, you know,
Yeah.
girlfriend's going to come pick him up, or girlfriend come with mom to pick him up and to go to court. We will have a lot of restrictions on it. And I don't know, maybe that's not even worth the
We can
question.
figure that out later on, you know.
Okay.
Probation, parole. I actually like that because if they're on probation or parole, that might be a way to start funneling more people over. Not that it has to be. Sex, like I said, we can't take sex offenders. That'll cut the whole process short. We just can't.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't. We used to do a lot of stuff like that, but it creates all kinds of legalities. People get abused. We just can't do that. I wish I could, because my heart really goes out to these people, believe it or not. I want to help them, but they're just people that they just need to get help from God, and we can't put them in a program like ours. Huh? Different program, and there's not that many programs
very
available.
hard to find.
Yeah, they're hard to find.
Yeah, we had a guy.
I've done it. I tried to get people in programs, and I have, but they're hard to find.
We had a guy, and I'll try to be real quick. We had a guy one time who didn't tell us, but he was a tier 1, which is like the lowest level. But he didn't tell us, and we tried to find him a place to send him. We weren't able to. We ended up just having to send him down the road. We didn't have, we called places for days, couldn't find anywhere to send him. Let's see here. Let's keep moving on. Major convictions, list what they are you court ordered. And then we ask about the medical history. We have taken people who are HIV positive. That won't stop us. Okay? STDs and stuff like that, none of that stuff stops us from taking them. We might have to make extra precautions to make sure they're not like working in the kitchen or something, but you know.
we've, I mean, at first when HIV and all that stuff came out, it was like everybody was afraid, just like COVID, everybody's afraid. But we have learned over the years that we can work with people that are HIV positive, and really sometimes those are the best students in the program, because they know eventually they're going to die, and it's, you know, that this is their last chance. But you know, as far as worried about spreading it and everything, we just take our proper precautions. So most illnesses like that, I don't know if you have a limitation on stuff. People are blind, people are deaf, people in wheelchairs, because I've taken those people all the time.
People in wheelchairs, we can't take them here in Ohio. We might be able to take them at another facility, but our facility in Ohio is not equipped for people in wheelchairs.
Okay, yeah, because you're in two levels. And
We
all
do
that.
have a guy right now, though, who has cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
And but he can still walk up and down the stairs, and he also has those. I can't remember what those things are called. Not crutches, but
Braces or
yeah, like something like you put them on your hands. I don't
Yeah.
know what they're called, but he's got those if he needs them, and he can go up and down the steps still. But
In other words, we can handle a lot. Just ask us, and we'll
Yeah.
do our best.
and like I said, our Tennessee Center can probably take
Wheelchairs.
wheelchairs because they don't have everything's ground level,
Yeah.
and they don't. There's no. They can function pretty well without having to go up and down stairs.
Yeah.
Let's see here. They got to know, like we've talked about already, that they will not be taking any kind of pain medications, narcotics, psych meds, sleep meds, antidepressants, mood altering medications. They got to know that up front. You'll look if you do check out those reviews, so you can see how a lot of them will say that we're withholding their meds. They know up front that they can't have them in this program, and and I'll be honest with you, I'll just say I do believe that there's some people out there that probably need those kind of meds, but I think more often than not, people get them when they don't need them. Especially if they've been doing drugs for a long time, the chemical balance in their brain's all jacked up from doing drugs, and the medications to try to level that out, but they're still doing drugs with the medication, and it's never going to level out and work. However, once they stop doing drugs, over time, it'll level out on its own, and they won't need the medication anyhow.
Yeah, we can give you testimony after testimony of people who've been taking drugs, medications all their life and everything, and they come and they get cleaned out, and they're just they just can't believe that they do not need those medications, and they're perfectly okay. Now, maybe when they first started taking them, they needed them, but when we say no, it's like a difference between night and day, and we have those kind of testimonies all the time.
Right. Actually, I hear that they take that what I've heard some people say is they go from taking pills to the gospel.
Oh, okay.
They try to do a word play there. All right, let's see here. They will, as far as their medical history, they'll need to know the fundraising. It's mandatory for everybody to do it. All students have to do it. All staff have to do it. It's what we do to raise the funds. It's how we advertise. We share our testimonies out there. It's nothing that they're ever going to get out of. Rain, hail, sleet, snow. Honestly, I mean, I've seen people down in the South fundraising in the midst of a hurricane until everybody's gone from that store. They're boarding up the windows, then we're finally packing up our table. I'm serious. They got to know that up front. They want to tell their parents like they're surprised, but they know it all up front. Let's see. They ask questions. As far as are they cutters? Do they have eating disorders? That we want to know all that kind of stuff. Have they ever committed suicide? Personal history. Are you married, single, divorced? Yeah, I got kids. How old are they? How many you got? An overview of the rules, which we've already kind of gone over all that stuff yesterday, so I'm not going to do it again. And then what to bring, we've already kind of gone over that. It doesn't actually say on here that they can't have tobacco. I just realized that. So that might need to be updated, but they need to know up front they're not taking tobacco. They ain't getting
need to know
patches.
that we're going to be drug testing them.
Yeah.
Which is a UA. It's a urine test, and that's mandatory. And we could do it at any time. We generally do it once a month, but if we suspect something, they could be tested every day if we feel it's necessary. They need to know that they're going to be drug tested for nicotine, for alcohol, for all. I mean, we have all the drugs on a cup that gives all the different drugs that they might be using. They just need to know that they're going to have to submit to that. And I don't enjoy testing them, and they don't enjoy being tested, but it's a necessary thing. And the courts love it. They'll say, do you drug test? Yeah. Probation officer says, will you send us the results? Yes. Okay, and that's what gets people in the program a lot, is because they know that we will drug test and we will watch them.
And it can really be a lifesaver for them once they leave the program, even if they don't finish. I had a guy he's no longer with the ministry, but he passed all of his drug tests for like a year. And when he left the program, though, his baby's mama decided she wanted full custody of their kid, and she thought I had to send him a screenshot of the drug tests so that he could prove that he's been clean for a year, so that he wouldn't lose custody of his daughter. So.
Yeah, and actually that happens in court a lot, where guy finishes the program or whatever, and we send all that information to the judge, and they're going to be on probation for the next 5 years, and the judge, they can't believe this guy finished his program, because they don't finish any program. But I mean, it's really true. Judges send people to 30-day programs and they never finish, and they look and say, "You finished a year program?" They just drop everything. I mean, I've seen it so many times where they drop the probation, no jail time, no prison time, no nothing. It happens all the time, because they see they have changed that much, and they have been clean for a full year. It really is a lifesaver, like you say. And the custody thing is a huge thing, because we really want daddy in a son or daughter's life. And even though mama says he's a drug addict, I don't want him and everything, but if he changes his life, I want him in this kid's life, some manner, shape, or form, and we will fight for him, because this kid needs a daddy. And if that daddy went through our program and he's doing well, then we will fight to make that happen. And part of it is all the drug tests that come up clean.
Amen.
They better come up clean, though.
Yes.
Okay. Is that done?
That's pretty much the end. I mean, basically,
I'm gonna,
what to bring in the general rules. Like I said, we went
It's
over already.
getting late. I don't want to prolong this. If you guys have questions, we'll take them. Yeah.
I guess this is for you, Andrew. When I helped get that gentleman in the program, I had to sit with him, remember?
Yeah.
And I went to his house, I sat with him, and he wanted to drink. I poured the beer down the sink. That's the only way, because he was going to drink. He was going to drink up until the time he got in the car. And he didn't want him to get sick on the way up. He didn't want him to get, so I mean, is there going to be a lot of times where we might have to do something like that, or?
If there may very well be sometimes like that, but it's really going to be dependent on the person, and it's going to be kind of a situational thing. I don't think we're going to.
And I never want you to be in danger. And I don't want him to get mad at you. You poured my drugs down the sink, or you did this or that. So I don't ever want anybody to be in danger of being,
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, that really has to be a God thing if you feel you need to do that.
I thought there was a guy that was supposed to be coming there too, wasn't there? Yeah, but he never showed up. Okay.
But honestly, I would say you need to pour that down the sink. If you're serious, you want to help, pour that down. It'll be the hardest thing they ever did, but it'll be the best thing they ever did. And if they won't, say, well, okay, well, obviously you're not ready to, when you're ready, give me a call. But I'm real reluctant to take somebody's drugs, somebody's bottle, or even their cigarettes. I mean, I do it at the program all the time. And believe me, I've been threatened and, all kinds of crazy things, but, I've not been called to be beaten up. It's their decision, not mine. So be careful of that.
I got 2 things I got to do before you leave.
Okay, in the back.
It's not really a question, but isn't it more of shouldn't it be more of a standard to keep women out of danger? Always have a man if there's a man there, and a woman if there's a woman there, and if you have to have a man
Yeah,
as
I
well.
like what you're saying there. That's
Yeah,
really
because
good.
that can really, it can jeopardize a lot of things there, but that should be like
Right.
one of the standards, I would
Yeah,
think.
and
Right,
you,
I thought there was a man that was supposed to be there.
Yeah, set up some teams, set up, those kinds of things. Pass people off if hey, will you come and see my daughter? And it's a man. You say, well, there's a lady in the church and I can't make, but she can do it and she knows what she's doing, or at least go with her. So yeah, it's a perfect thing, and it's so obvious to me I don't even really think about it. But a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people try to do that kind of thing, and they're like just trying to help and everything, and they don't realize, well, he's only a 25-year-old man and I'm a 50-year-old woman. What's the problem? It's a problem. Okay? All right. Anything else? Because, yeah, accusations and all kinds of things go crazy. All right. Anything else? We're going to, you want to pray us out, or you want to, okay.
So first off, how many appreciate them coming? Yeah. Did you learn anything? Is it helpful? We got some tools that we can put into place. Amen. So